Welcome back to another episode of the Lehigh Valley Prospects Field Hockey Podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. I'm your host, LJ Smith, and on this Coach's Corner episode, I have the pleasure of being joined by Grace Hardy, the head coach at Elizabethtown College. Grace, thank you for spending some time with me on this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join you for today.
I'm excited to learn about your story and have you share what your journey was to now becoming the head coach at Elizabethtown. You mentioned working and trying to find time to recruit. How do you find time for recruiting? Obviously taking days off of school, but not just the big tournaments. How do you and your staff interact and meet with potential student athletes that want to come to Elizabethtown?
We get a lot of emails, and the easiest thing is to just respond. And that's something that I don't think always happened in the past, but just reaching out quickly. I'm pretty prompt with my email responses to recruits, just kind of getting a feel for who they are, who we are. My next thing is come visit campus. I'm very strategic as far as when I schedule visits on campus. So a lot of times for field hockey versus like soccer or basketball or other sports on campus, I might have them not come to campus until 2, meet with admissions first. And then by that point, I'm free and on campus and I can meet with them for like the evening part, or we could get a meal in the marketplace or do something like that while we walk around. So that's kind of like that next piece. As far as going to tournaments and things like that, we are very specific as far as which tournaments we're going to make a point of going to, and we'll advertise that to our recruits. So like looking back at last season, we made a point to go to Shooting Star Thanksgiving, we went to Shooting Star Easter, we went to Winter Escape. Those were like the 3 big main ones that we were at. In addition to indoor, we're right in E-Town, so it's really convenient to just trek it over to the Nook. Anytime people were coming to Spooky Nook, especially if it's someone we're really interested in seeing play, we could just pop right over there. Easy peasy. And same thing with like the United Sports Complex in Downingtown. Like that's not a terrible ride. And if it was a bigger tournament that we were going to be heading out to, so like NITs, for example, we would make sure to send emails to all of our recruits that we're talking to. Hey, we're going to be here. Let me know if you're going to be attending. Send me your schedule. Send me that stuff. We would compile all of their schedules in a spreadsheet and kind of prioritize, hey, which games we're going to get to. So for the larger tournaments where we might be watching like, I don't know, 60 athletes in a weekend or more than that, I would be sure to prioritize, hey, I'm going to go to this one, Madeline's going to go to this one. One thing that I think we really do a nice job as a coaching staff, and this is probably the teacher in me, if we watch you play, I'm going to send you an email back. I'm going to give you some sort of feedback. And that's something that I really valued as going through the recruiting process myself. Like, it was so exciting when a coach emailed me back, especially for the girls we're really interested in, like making sure that they're getting emails from us, that we're continuing to pop up in their inbox so that they know like, oh, this school is interested in us. And even if it's an athlete I might not be as interested in, I think it's important, like, hey, you invited me to see you play. I saw you play. Here are some things that I thought were really good. Here's some things I think you could work on. Like, let me know if you're going to any other events. I think that's just respectful until it becomes unmanageable, but that's what we've been doing so far, and it's been working really well, kind of delegating, I'm going to take the 25s, Madeline's going to take the 26s, and then as we have like our more starred players, we kind of prioritize them, and I might be part of the conversation a little bit more for those ones. But yeah, that's kind of how we do it, with the big piece being getting them on campus. The ones we really want to get them to us, and it's a lot easier to talk to kids when they're on campus as well. So hosting clinics, we never had any clinics when I was an athlete here. That was something that we started in my first year as an assistant coach. So we have a spring clinic. It's grown. We've only done it 2 times, but it was bigger last year. We had a record number of attendees, and we had some girls committing after the clinic, which was awesome.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
So with that being said, you've worked with the team now, your first season last year.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get fully into the recruiting side of things, let's step back a second for me and think about your first game at the helm of your alma mater. So not just your first game, like your first game in general, the nerves, the energy going through you, but then you step foot on Wolf Field for the first time as the head coach of the program you played for. What emotions are going through your head? Because that's a very real moment.
Yeah, it was, I think very real is a good way to describe it. It was a little weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've never gotten ready for a game on Wolf Field and not played in it or been out with the starting lineup. So that was something that was really unique, and it felt sort of like an added like pressure. I was definitely a little bit nervous, and also like an added piece to this being too, this past season, the juniors and the seniors were my teammates when I played on the team. So that was also kind of a unique thing to think about. I really want to see the program succeed. I really want success for them. And so I think like that combination of like being a little nervous but a little excited is really exactly how I was feeling. And I was really just hoping that the girls would go out and have fun and grow and show what they can do. I think when I think about E-Town field hockey in like all of my years of knowing E-Town field hockey, we have so much talent on like that just end up at E-Town. And so I think something that we really worked on this past season and have continued to work on is exactly like what combination generates the most success. So I think that's really exactly what I was thinking about going into this first game of like, okay, here's a lineup that like I got to create myself based on the practice plans that I wrote, based on what I think our program's strengths and needs are. So it was really cool, honestly. It was cool seeing them go out and perform. And they did a great job. And it was one of those things where it's like we were competing against teams that we were not competing with in previous seasons. I mean, thinking about just the Landmark Conference, so you went to Moravian, like Catholic field hockey is really strong. Susquehanna field hockey, really strong. Scranton, really strong. Like all 1-goal games. Like the Scranton game was like a super weird field hockey score. It was like 4-6. Like, and like that's something where it's like we were in it though the whole time.
Yeah.
Back and forth, scoring, like never quitting. And like that's something that I really admire about my athletes and I want in and I look for in my recruits. Like we don't quit. Like they just play all 60 minutes. Like leave it all out there. And we had a really hard schedule last season. We played some very competitive teams and it was great. Like Stevenson, another really good program, a 1-goal game. So that's something that I was really proud of. And I'm proud of that. And I'm also proud of just their experience as athletes this year. I got overwhelmingly positive feedback from them. Like it was hard, but it was fun. Like practices were hard, but like I liked it. Like it felt good afterward. Like those are things that like those are the best practices that I remember as a student athlete. So hearing them say that to me like felt pretty good. But yeah, I think, recently being a player, I'm definitely thinking about the players a lot and maybe from a different perspective as other coaches, just because I was recently in their shoes. And, look, like this past season, like I recently played with the juniors and the seniors. So not only do I know how to coach them, I know how they play on the field because I played with them and passed with them. So that's something that I think is cool. You don't get that everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about your players and your team now, how would your players describe you as a coach and your coaching style?
That's a good question. I feel like probably a little out of the box. I'm sure they would say organized. That's that teacher in me. I'm very particular about like my plans and I'm very transparent in them of like, we're doing this because of this. We're working on this because we couldn't do it in the game the other night. And I also think telling them why I'm making them run drills makes them work a little bit harder. They're like, okay, yeah, fair, valid.
Yeah, makes sense.
They would probably say that I'm a little funny. I crack jokes every once in a while. I try to keep it light. I force them to work hard, but I think that they like that too. So it's a perfect balance. Like we have the most fun when we're working hard. But I would say too, I'm pretty in tune to them as people, as humans, not just field hockey players. So I can sense when they're off. Even the freshmen that I like just met this past season and the sophomores that I didn't play with but I coached, feel like I know them all as people. So when they're off, I know, and it's fine. And I tell them that too all the time. Like, I'm not expecting you to be perfect every single day. That's so unrealistic. Nobody is perfect. And I remember this past fall, we had a practice on a Thursday. It was terrible. Everything was going wrong. They looked horrible. And it felt really off. And so finally, I probably waited a little too long, but I was just like, raise your hand. Like, we brought in a huddle. Like, raise your hand if you had a bad day today. Everybody on the team, like besides maybe 3 people, had their hands up. I had my hand up. It was a rough day at work. It happens, I'm like, that's totally valid. Like, look around, okay? The 3 people that don't have their hands up, guess what? You got to work a little harder to pick the people up around you today. And that's just how it is. Sometimes we have hard days, but like the best part about being a student athlete is that when you come here, it doesn't matter about the other stuff that happened today. Like this is field hockey time. This is the time that we can work together and be together and do field hockey stuff. And the other stuff doesn't matter. This is your break from that, you know? And as teammates, you know, we're one big family. So like we got to pick each other up here and there. And I think I can do a lot for them as a coach, but you know, some of them like it has to come from them too. And we took like the last 20 minutes of practice to like do stuff that we needed for us as people, not necessarily for us as a team. So I think that's something that the girls really like. And I know we didn't have that in the past necessarily. So I think that that is kind of a cool thing for them too. And maybe they would describe me as a teacher, but probably some of them might.
Yeah.
But I do think that teaching and coaching, like they go hand in hand. It's so
Yes.
similar. Yeah. There's a lot of overlap there as far as my teacher career, my coach hat. They're mixed.
Yeah, and that's very true. Being able to be a coach, but be a teacher at the same time, like you said, some of the things you're talking about are invaluable that
Yeah.
you're giving to the student athletes, and that just enhances that experience and makes them feel more comfortable, more in tune with themselves, but with it makes you seem on their level. You're seeing them in their most vulnerable state as well.
Yeah. I mean, being a college athlete is hard. Like, it's so hard. You're like trying to learn how to be an adult and also like play sports and also like perform at the highest level and manage your classes and get good grades and do all the other stuff. And a lot of times also have a job. Like, I mean, like doing a lot, and it's not easy. And part of being a student athlete is like you rely a lot on your teammates. You really are in it together. And so I think that's something that I try to teach them and remind them. Sometimes I have athletes that definitely feel like they need to do it all themselves. I was one of those athletes a little bit, or feel like I need to help everybody else around me and I'm not like really taking care of myself. So making sure that, you know, you're in tune to that. You know what your strengths are, what your needs are, what your limit is for the day. And I mean, I tell them all the time, I want to see them, you know, giving their all at practice. Work ethic is important to me. But I also recognize that like what you can give today might be a little bit different tomorrow. It depends, you know? And I want you to be like in tune to what you can do. And then your teammates are going to learn that about you and they'll hold you accountable. And I learned that about them too. And I help hold them accountable. But I think that the first step is the self piece. So if they can't do it themselves, then it's going to be a lot harder for everyone else. But
Now, looking forward to this year, but also the next season or two, what position groups are you looking to reinforce with incoming student athletes? Are you looking for specific position groups, or are you looking just for an athlete as a whole?
we're definitely looking for some defense right now. We just graduated our whole defense. So I have 2 freshmen in my 25 class that are coming in that primarily play defense that we're looking to kind of maybe fit into one of those defensive positions on our field. And we have some defensive players in our 2026 class as well that are committed that we're really looking to kind of fill those spots. Looking ahead more to like our 2027s, we're going to need some forwards. So we're good right now, but we will be needing those. So that's something that I'm kind of looking at position group wise. Goalies, we are like solid on goalies. We're going to have 4 goalies next season. So this season we have 3, next season we'll have 4, and then we'll kind of start looking again, but I'm not looking for any more as far as goalies go. So, and that like kind of sucks cuz like really cool athletes are like reaching out to me and I'm like, "We have so many goalies." Like, "You're awesome, but like it's one position on the field."
For your program, are there any athletic expectations before we move into the academic expectations of the program, but athletic expectations you have for the Blue Jays?
Yes, they need to withhold a specific amount of credits, and I believe it's 10 credits that they have to have it at once. So it gives them room that they could drop a class if they needed to, and they're still able to be eligible to compete. And then they need to have over a 2.5 GPA, I believe,
Okay.
which all of our field hockey athletes are like well over that. We tend to bring in just, I mean, probably similar for Meridian too, just very like academically driven kids. I never have to make like mandatory study halls or any of those things. They're kind of doing them on their own already. But those are our requirements academic wise as far as competing at E-Town.
Okay. And then athletic expectations, are you looking for anything particular, for what do you set in preseason that they have to execute to be in the program?
So we have 3 run tests, which I am very transparent about. I tell all of my recruits about it. It sounds a lot scarier than it really is. It's 3 different types of running. So we do right now, and these could change a little like from year to year. It's 3 different types of running. So we'll do 300-yard shuttles. So just like a sprint type of running. They need to do it in under a minute and 15 seconds. The second one is the timed mile, which is very traditional, but I think it's a good gauge. So they do do a time mile on the track in under 7 minutes and 30 seconds is the goal that they're shooting for. And then the third one is more of an endurance run. It's called the Cooper's test. Some people have heard of it, some people haven't, but it's essentially a run that we do on our field, so on the turf from end line to end line, and they're running down and back. And the goal, so down being 1, back being 2, is to get 24 laps in 12 minutes. So we time them for 12 minutes, and it really is a run. It's about running at like a 8-minute pace, and it's an endurance run. So the reason that we have 3 is just because I recognize that the best field hockey players in the world might not be able to run a 7-minute 30 like mile time on the track. That's really not the expectation. It's a goal, it's something to shoot for. But I think back to my freshman year, one of the best people on the team, a senior that I like loved and looked up to, like she did not run a 7:30 mile, but she was extremely talented, like an insanely good field hockey player. So the reason we have 3 is that I just recognize like athletes running is different depending on, your position, depending on your background. It changes your body type, all of that stuff. It doesn't make or break you as a field hockey player, but I want you to be working hard and I want you to be in shape. So the goal is to pass 2 out of the 3 to get play time at our program. And all of our girls are able to do that. So I'm not asking you to be the best sprinter and the best endurance runner and also have a perfect time mile, but get 2 of them, work on your endurance and then be able to do your 300 shuttles, like have a little bit of sprint. I think it's something that it's manageable and the girls can do it, which is really pretty neat. So we have that. And then the other piece of it just being like our team expectations, something I expect from them is communication. So if they're not going to be at practice, if they're not going to be at an event, they need to be communicating with me. And similarly, I communicate with them if I'm going to be late, if I'm not going to be somewhere. We're holding each other accountable. It's a two-way street. Like they hold me accountable, I hold them accountable. And then a respect piece. They need to be respectful and they need to be working hard when they come to practice. And I kind of touched on, everybody can give maybe a different amount each day, but they know what they can give. They know what 100% feels like. So I want them to be holding themselves accountable to give that 100%. And 100% looks different from day to day, and I get that, but it needs to be everything you can give when you're at practice. So 2 hours of your day, give it what you got. Those are really the big 3 expectations that we have. We have a couple other things. We developed them as a team and they sign them, put them in the locker room as a reminder. But those are my expectations mostly from the field hockey side of things.
And some of the things you just touched on as well kind of leads into my next question. When they become and when they choose to become an Elizabethtown Blue Jay, what values do you look to instill into them when they take part in your field hockey program?
Really, it does kind of tie into what I just talked about. The respect piece is huge to me. And we talk about, coach-player respect, player-player respect, player-umpire respect, and player-spectator respect. That piece is really important to me. I don't want to ever travel anywhere and have our fans be the reason that girls are crying on the field or like people are getting upset or our fans are getting carded. So I think that extends beyond just the athlete, but like also where the athlete comes from, the athlete's family, like the way that they're going to behave at a sporting event. I think that's an extension of us. And I tell the girls too, when we travel to go get food, when we're out in a restaurant, when you're wearing your E-Town shirt, you're representing our team. So that's a big piece that I definitely talk about a lot and instill with them a lot. That communication piece I think is really important. Communication isn't just talking, it's also listening. So like when a player is talking, if we're talking in a huddle, if someone has an idea or something to share, you should be looking at the person that's talking. That's like a body language respect piece, as well as just actually taking in the information that's being given. And then I talk about work ethic a lot just because I work very hard and I think that that's how you grow. You have to be able to handle hard things and push yourself to do things that you might not have thought you could do. So we talk a lot about that and kind of what that feels like for you. So I know like sometimes when we do our run tests or we like push really hard to like do something that's not easy, I will take a minute to be like, hey guys, how did that feel? Think about how you're feeling right now and remember it. Because we might do something later and then I'll bring it up again. Like, does it feel like you did earlier? Because then we didn't give it everything we got. And similarly, when we have moments of success, I will remind them, like, remember how this feels. Like, these are the moments that I want you to remember because that's how you are able to gauge you and know your feelings and emotions and all of those things. So I talk about that a little bit too. And then accountability, I'm training them to be more than just field hockey players, to be good humans and functioning adults. So, accountability is huge. in any job, in any workforce, and in life in general. So I teach them that, and I talk about that, and I want them to be holding each other accountable and holding themselves accountable for all of those things.
And one of the last questions that we'll go over this episode, what separates Elizabethtown from other programs? What allows you to sell Elizabethtown to prospective student athletes?
The community at E-Town speaks for itself. I can't beat the people that are at Elizabethtown. And I think it's just the people that we attract to this campus, the people that we have working on this campus. We have a lot of alumni that are still here. So, I mean, Elizabethtown's motto is educate for service. And I mean, we do. There's
Yes.
a really great community that is built in Elizabethtown. So that piece, as far as getting kids on campus and letting them see what that's like and be a part of that, is huge. But additionally, from the field hockey side of things, there's really not very many head associate coach positions across divisions where we have a head coach and an associate head coach. So that's something that makes us unique, in a sense too, that I am a full-time teacher is something that makes us unique. And I think that there's two sides to that coin of okay, well, she's a full-time teacher. Is she really committed to us as athletes? And then there's the sense of we have a full-time teacher that's taking the time to teach us this game too. So I think it goes hand in hand. And I think as long as there's a perfect balance, which right now it seems really like we've got a good thing going, there's so many great things that we can do having a head and an associate head coach, and being able to have that balance, to have times during the day, to have times at night where we can meet with the athletes and meet their needs, is really important. And I think that that's something we do really well. Additionally, Madeline also went to Elizabethtown, so she is a year younger than I am. We're a pretty young coaching staff, which I think has, again, the pros and the cons. But what seems to really be selling with a lot of athletes right now is we were in your shoes not that long ago. We know what you want. We know specifically what it was like to be an athlete here. We know what this program needs to grow. And so I think that's been a really huge selling point for us as well, and something that really we have grown in every single category as we're reflecting on, just where we were at this time last year to where we are now, thinking of recruiting, thinking of fundraising, just what we have as a team. We just got brand new uniforms. We just got brand new sideline jackets. We're doing all the things, all the upgrades that we never really got to do before, just because we didn't take the time to sit and do them. And so that's something that is huge. And it's something that athletes like to see, I think, especially recruits, looking at programs. It's no secret, the gear is pretty appealing. You have these cool jackets and backpacks that we get to wear. That's pretty sick. We're in tune to that. We're in tune to what the athletes like. We got a team account with Lululemon. So that's something that I think has been sort of a selling point with at least our current athletes. And we're also always looking for feedback from our athletes. We just got new uniforms. We had a conversation with the girls. What do you want? What kind of uniforms do you want to wear? I don't need to pick them out for you. I don't get to wear them. It really was a collaborative process as far as that. And I'm very open to that collaboration. I want their feedback. So I think that that's something that kind of sets us apart maybe from other programs, but it's definitely something that I think sells E-Town field hockey a little bit. And I was just saying actually to one of my friends, I would love to be a freshman at E-Town again.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
And do it all again, because I'm just so excited about what's coming for the program.
Excellent. Grace Hardy, the head coach at Elizabethtown College. Grace, thank you so much for spending time with me on this episode and sharing your experiences as a student athlete to a teacher and a coach. It's such a unique experience that you get to share with your program, and I'm just so excited to see what this season holds for you this upcoming season.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's been so awesome actually just talking about it and reflecting. I definitely don't do it enough. I'm very busy going all the time. So it's been really nice to sit down and talk with you, and I'm excited to be able to share this with my athletes and my recruits, and hopefully anyone else that's interested in Elizabethtown.
Thank you again, Grace, and best of luck this upcoming season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lehigh Valley Prospects podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel searching Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. You can stream the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts searching Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. Follow us on social media on Instagram at LV Prospects Podcast, on X at LV Prospects, and on Facebook at Lehigh Valley Prospects Podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, LJ Smith. signing off.